Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stickity Stacks in this thing, baby, representing TKOG. And today I'm going to be updating my Dragon Maid list for the new format. People have been asking me for my new list. I've been making a lot of cuts on this deck. The list is so different now. Even the extra deck is different. Obviously VFD is banned, and I was playing that card, but I was rarely making it. A lot of the times, the same hand I would make that could make a way better board, so it wasn't like a big sacrifice. It basically gave me extra space in my extra deck, 4 cards that I really wanted to play extras of anyway. So the ban list didn't really affect me, and obviously it didn't hit any of the dragon cards. You still have all the dragon cards that you could play. You could still play Levianeer, all the rocket cards, LP Pisty are still, they're still legal. I think Dragon Maids are an incredibly well-rounded deck. Very adaptable and very diverse. So many variants and also different play styles. The trajectory of this deck is it's mid-range for me, but it's built like a combo deck. I can just play it basically almost like any random dragon-based deck that plays all the good dragon cards. Dragon Link is most infamous for doing that, but essentially every dragon deck can play the same cards. Nocto Vision, the rocket cards, you've got Levianeer, you've got Brotar, you've got so many generic good dragon cards, even World Legacy Guard Dragon, that just are all really good for any deck that's playing dragon cards. So the fact that this deck can use all of those cards, and that Dragon Maids themselves are already such a powerful archetype, this deck just has for me, it's the best of both worlds. It's I can combo if I want to. I don't have to combo. It's not necessary sometimes. I can make a big board. I can make a small board. I can play conservative. No matter what, every play that I commit to will always give me residual value, being that my cards will pay for themselves on the first turn that I use them, and then so on and so forth. And before you know it, you'll be like, I got this far just because I resolved a seal just to summon from deck, and now look where I'm at now. I'm on a +7, and I'm not stopping there. That's really insane. Before I get into the deck list, I want to say, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done. Click the notification bell. Make sure you can catch me on the upside. I'm pretty much just going to keep y'all locked in and make sure that you're always going to be up to date with everything that I do. If you want to support the channel, whether you're donating, buying my merchandise, or just becoming a member of the Discord, all those are available to you. I do give back to those who give to me. But with all of that said, I think we should just go ahead and hop into the list. So I obviously have my deck organized. I have categories, so I'm just gonna kind of slide these piles over, and we'll get to them when we get to them. But yeah, Dragon Maids are just an insane deck. This deck is just really powerful. It grinds better. There's only 2, maybe 3 decks I can think of that could even grind as well as this deck is. The first one that would come to mind is Shadal's. Eldritch really doesn't grind the same. I get when a deck can grind, but when you can grind as well, and it's a tempo too. This deck's tempo is it grinds harder than almost every deck, and it grinds faster because it doesn't take much to get your engine going, and you can start with a little bit of cards, 1 or 2 dragon cards, and before you know it, on your next turn, your hand is literally overfilled. You just have too many cards, not enough monster zones. You've already made all your big plays, and sometimes you're just I don't know what to do. This is too much advantage, and I don't know what else to do with it because I've made every play, and it's already game anyways. It's just the point that this deck will give you more. You'll never bite off. I guess you could say you will bite off more than you could chew, I guess, if that makes sense, because the deck's always going to give you more. It's just going to overfeed you. You're just going to get way too much advantage. You plus way too much standby phase, battle phase. Every turn, you just generate a plethora of card advantage. The economics of this deck are just absolutely second to none. Yes, Shadal's can grind, and I think another deck that grinds it really well is the Dragon Link deck itself and Virtual Worlds. I think those decks grind extremely well too. Another deck I think is Plunders can grind pretty nice. Prank Kids also can grind extremely well, but the only deck that has the tempo for grinding that this deck has would probably be Prank Kids, because Prank Kids and this deck, Dragon Maids themselves, because they have the mechanic of bouncing and battle phase and the standby phase of Shao and House generating more card economy. It happens so fast that even though Eldritch will get a trap every end phase, it's that is a good grind, but it's not as fast as standby phase, I plus, your standby phase, I plus, your battle phase, I plus, my battle phase, I plus. I still drew for turn, I still searched on all these cards on summon, then I got them back to hand. just so that next turn I can summon these cards again and search again, then bounce it back to hand just so I can summon them again, and I just continue to just loop these cards. It's crazy. But yeah, the deck's insane. It has like literally like no bad matchups. You pretty much just clap everything, including the top, like all the top tier decks. The mirror match, which pretty much it feels like a mirror match because people are playing Dragon Link, and because I play the good dragon cards, they play the good dragon cards. We're both trying to guard dragon combo. We both play rockets. It almost feels like a mirror. The only edge I have over them is that I play the Dragon Maid cards, which give me a little bit more oomph, especially when it comes for aggressive pushes, and outing Winda without, you know, drawing it out is always really, really nice. But yeah, let's get into the list. So for starters, we're on, I played 4 black metal, but the 1-for-1 is in the pile for extenders. Black metal itself, and also we'll just go ahead and lay down the 4 copies of Parlor. And also, let me slide these. We'll just drop down the 3 copies of Chamber. These are your 11 1-card starters of the deck. These cards by themselves actually combo. And they combo without any additional resources required. So they are self-contained 1-card combos by themselves. They're a 1-card Seal. They're a 1-card Romulus. They're a 1-card Guard Dragon combo. Sometimes you don't want a Guard Dragon combo, especially when you know you're not going to get the inboard that you want. You want to save your Guard Dragons for later. So you'll normally just go Romulus to get Tempest Engrave. Tempest, banish a couple, summon itself, make a Seal. And so what that's going to do is you're going to get Seal, so you're already going to have a follow-up number 1. You're going to have Tempest Engrave, that's follow-up number 2. And then you'll have Seal, which is follow-up number 3. And that's excluding, you know, the actual Dragon Maid in your grave that is just going to get you, like, a huge plus. And then you have, like, the Boot Sector launch just for your next turn to make a lot of really, really big plays. So there's like levels and magnitudes that you can go for these combos. Like you can go really deep into it and get the maximum. Like the max you could get, for example, out of 1 Parlor is you can actually get a Boral Sword, a Borreload Savage, and a Red Eyes Darkness Medal, all off of just Parlor by herself. So believe it or not, if you draw Parlor and it's an open game state, you can OTK your opponent with just Parlor. So because of the composition of my main deck, these cards, their ceiling is much higher. Chamber and Parlor ceiling is much higher than they are in average Dragon Maid decks that just play like Extravagance and Prosperity and Dinomishus and Torrential and all that other stuff. It's cool, nothing's wrong with it. Every Dragon Maid build is good, but their ceiling is never going to be as high in those lists than it is in this. These cards can outright kill your opponent, and these cards represent multiple interruptions by themselves, including going first. Like, it's pretty crazy, honestly. It's bananas. So those are the 11 1-card starters. And now, and the only difference that varies with quality is when it comes to, like, okay, Black Metal loses to Lancia. Like, these particularly lose to Ash. Black Metal does not lose to Ash, but Black Metal loses to Lancia. So when it comes to certain hand traps, some will play around others better than, you know, the other ones, but when it comes to well-rounded diversity, Chamber and Parlor are obviously standalone, and they obviously are going to continue progressing your game state after your first turn, whereas Black Metal is a one-and-done play because you're only playing 1 target. The mechanics with Chamber, summoning Shao and House, makes her extremely dangerous in the battle phase. Like, you can literally let your opponent outright just kill your Shao, like they're just using a card to threaten it, trying to pressure you. You don't even waste Shao's in the gate. You just let it die, bring it back off Chamber. It's pretty insane. The same thing with Parlor when you're summoning it on your standby or your opponent's standby off of Shao. I normally dump Tidying if I don't already have one set, just for the simple fact that if my opponent is going to try to out Shao, so they're obviously going to do something to it to try to pressure it, and knowing I have Tidying Engrave, I just won't even waste my negate. I'll let them trade that card with me, and I'll just bring my Shao back. You know, when Dino, some of their Pankratops, things like that. It's really, really useful. So Parlor and Chamber have a lot of utility. Chamber has a bit more because she can just search Tidying, she searches Changeover. Like, Parlor can search Changeover, but Chamber can pretty much search everything that you want her to search. She's really, really insane. Chamber is honestly the best Dragon Maid. It's between Chamber and Parlor, but for the sheer right that Parlor can just revive Shao by herself and she can get Tidying on command, just makes her really, really, really powerful. And then next up, we played 3 copies of Kitchen, and my wife actually signed these to Nurse. I really like Nurse a lot. Nurse is actually, I'm sorry, I know I just said like Chamber is the best. She's like the best starter, but Nurse is the best follow-up in this entire deck. Nurse is sheer insanity. This card is actually cracked how good it is. Like, because I play about 19 to 20 extenders, Kitchen is really, really good in my list, because even if you draw her with black metal, she's good. Like, she's insane. If you draw like Kitchen with a clogged hand of Dragon Maids, you could still combo because of Ernest. So she can combo with a lot of Dragon Maids. She can combo with an extender. She's a starter, and because you're playing a 60 card list, you want to have more than just 11 starters. So Kitchen's like another honorary starter. She's actually really, really good. She's very, very underappreciated. A lot of people think she's Garbo, but just because her food don't got no salt in it, you know, she's still pretty fire. But Nurse is cracked. Nurse is actually cracked. Nurse is just absolutely insane. So, like, I'll talk about Nurse. I'll just go ahead and drop the rest of the starters. So, these are all starters. Any normal summonable dragon in my deck is a starter. If you get to Striker, you're always going to have an extender. You're making Romulus, you're making Syl. You can combo or you cannot. Like, that's the thing when you play a combo deck as a mid-range deck. You have all of the strengths, all the basically the high ceiling and all the applications that a combo deck grants you, the outright critical mass, which means a combo deck can OTK consistently. You're not going to have to worry about not being able to close games out fast enough. Like, for example, if you're playing Zodiac Eldritch, it's hard to OTK sometimes, but it's like you have all the strengths that the combo deck has, all the strengths that the control deck has. That's what gives you the complementing factor of a mid-range deck. It's mid-range for me is this statement. So you can write this on pen and paper. Just because I can combo doesn't mean I need to combo to beat you, if that makes sense. A lot of people don't understand that, so some people will just use every playable card in their hand just because it's playable. And it's like, a lot of the times you're making reads in hindsight, and game 2 and 3, sometimes it's not even necessary, especially when you know what deck you're on and you know what in board to make. You know what cards have a higher impact in that matchup than others. So sometimes you know, like, okay, I don't need to commit every card that I have. The deck already plays around everything. Like, I've played through Droll, I've played through Lancey, I've played through Gamma, I've played through Nib, I've played through Ash. There's no hand trap that's ever just, like, stopped my turn unless I literally drew, like, one starter, no extenders, and that's it, you know, and Ash can stop me. But anyways, like I said, Nurse is cracked. So how she works in your follow-ups is, like, Nurse can net you, like, 6 to 7 cards. I want to say even more. If you full comboed, Nurse just gets more impactful. So, like, the way Dragon Maids grind is actually really insane. After your first turn, you can get a bigger plus on the follow-up than you could when you were starting it up. And every in-board has follow-ups. Like, Striker follow-up, you'll sometimes leave Pisty and LP up, so your opponent has to out them, or that's just more follow-ups. Syl's a follow-up, Shao's a follow-up, Tiding is a follow-up, Boot Sector Launch is a follow-up. You'll have Changeover Engrave, and because Changeover is Engrave, it becomes a follow-up, because when you summon Nurse off of your Syl and use her effect to summon, next turn you can use Changeover to bounce Nurse to hand, normal summon her again, and just keep plussing. So there's a lot of follow-ups, but she's honestly like the best card for your follow-ups. So I'll explain why. So when you have full comboed and you have the Dragon Maids Engrave, you can just go normal Nurse, bring back Chamber effect, get Hospitality for Parlor, dump a Tiding if you didn't already have Tiding Engrave. If not, just dump another Anagram. Send her Anagram off Hospitality. Then you can just Tidying to summon another Dragon Maid if you need to. But already, off of Nurse, you have 3 bodies on field. And if that wasn't good enough, you could link the Nurse into the second copy of Striker pop itself, get Recharger, bring back Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon brings something else back. Dragon Maid Tidying brings something else back. Changeover, bounce a Dragon Maid, summon Shao. You can Boros Sword OTK. It's just ridiculous. And it all happens off of one Nurse. So you can actually net, like I said, 6 to 7 cards off one Nurse. And then if that wasn't good enough, you can do it again and again. And then you could just do it again. It just doesn't stop. As long as you have the targets engraved and the resources to just search, Nurse is gonna plus you like 6 cards. It's actually insane. How well this deck grinds is really scary. Like, this isn't a combo deck where like, 3 stacks, I broke your board, what are you gonna do? Make another one. What do you mean? And if you break that, I'm gonna do it again and again and again till you don't have any more cards to throw at me. I'm just gonna keep doing it again and again and again. I recycle my extra deck. Like, I'm playing Welcome now in my list, so I'm just grinding forever. Like, you're not gonna be like, oh, I can just outplay you by just out-resourcing you in the grind game. You're gonna lose the grind game. Even if you're on Shaddolls, and the reason being mainly because this deck is a lot more fast-paced and aggressive. So, like, Shaddolls can, like, grind because you can Resh, summon a Construct, and Op Cologne, you know, loop your cards, but you're just doing that one play over and over. like Dragon Maids are like this plus, that plus, that plus, that plus, bounce, 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 summon, 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 battle phase. Like you get a plus 6 to 7 every turn. Shaddolls don't plus 6 to 7 cards every turn over and over on a recursive loop. You know what I mean? So this deck really does outgrind like everything right now. Like there's no deck that is meta right now that can grind faster or harder than Dragon Maids, and it's just a fact. And it's like not even really biased because I'm speaking on decks that I personally love too. But anyways, for extenders, we're playing 3 World Legacy Guard Dragon. This card is absolutely insane. As well as 3 copies of Hospitality, and then we have 3 Quick Launch. These are like all your high qualities. I like Nocto a lot. Nocto is just insane, especially being Shao Food, the Graveyard Effect, protecting, Extender, Chain Block your Romulus to play around Gamma, Ash on your starter, like Ash on people. And you know why people Ash Parlor and Chamber? This is the truth. The reason why people Ash Chamber and Parlor is because of the simple fact that these cards could actually get changeover, and you can fusion summon for Shao. That is an Omni Negate. So people will Ash, Parlor, and Chamber so that you can't make Shao. Because when you make Shao, you're just going to combo with an Omni Negate up, and you're not going to negate Ash after that. You're just going to see if they have a Nib. If they have a Nib, not only can you negate it, but you'll have a Seal. So if they have a Nib plus another hand trap like Gamma, you can negate the Nib, they'll Gamma you, they tribute Seal, and you'll just keep comboing anyways. So Ash and Chamber, Parlor and Chamber get ashed a lot, and Nocto just doesn't care. It lets you literally just combo right through it as if nothing happened. Because you have to really think about it, Chamber and Parlor are 1-card combos because they can make Seal or Romulus, but Nocto mitigates the Ash. It makes it almost like it never happened. So this card's really, really high quality. In economics, you're not only getting your cards back, you're replacing what you use, and then you get more for your troubles. So it's not just like a 1-for-1 trade. It's like literally a plus-worthy play. It's insane. And then I own 2 goods, 1 Reborn. Reborn's just insane. And then 1-for-1. 1-for-1's an extender and a starter. Quick Launch is an extender and a starter. Sometimes Hospitality can be a starter. It just depends. A lot of your cards are very well-rounded. Like even the Chambers and Parlors and the Black Metals, they can be extenders if you need them to be. So your cards are pretty multi-purpose. It's not just like linear plays. A lot of your cards can do multiple things, and that's what I like about this deck. It's very, very flexible. The Red MD, we have the Tempest, we have Apsa Router, and then these last 2 cards are pretty much, you're going to be searching these through every combo. Some combos you just don't need Romulus, so you just hold them. The follow-up is really, really good. Like when you can make a Romulus on your follow-up, it just makes things even crazier. Especially for the 1-card Nurse combo I was talking about, where you like do all the things Nurse does and then make a 2nd copy of Striker, bring back your Recharger, bring back Red MD another card, make a Romulus, get Ravine, dump a Tempest. Now you have so many pluses. Like you can just literally play out of your grave. You can have like nothing in hand. Even if you didn't draw a Nurse, you could have no cards in hand and just activate Tidying from Grave and summon a Nurse, and you'll just be making plays with nothing in your hand, and your hand's gonna just fill right back up like nothing ever happened. This deck's just broken, honestly. So these are like all the extenders. Some kind of diminish in quality, like Red MD, you know, Apps Router is seldom used as an extender, but the simple fact that it can be used that way is what makes it an extender for me. 1-for-1 is just insane, you guys. Honestly, like hands with 1-for-1 is just crazy. Like when you can 1-for-1 and still normal Chamber and just, it's ridiculous. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. So those are all of your extenders. You play dang near an equal amount of extenders as you do starters. And I like that because it pretty much dang near guarantees that you're always going to open 1 of each card. And that's what the ideal, ideal hand for my deck is, just 1 extender and one starter. Like especially when it's a good starter like Chamber or Parlor, when they're already full combo by themselves, having that extender helps you to push through the hand trap. And if they don't have a hand trap, your in board is going to be a lot more powerful. And so now this is the place where hand traps normally would be. I actually opted to play no hand traps. There is 3 cards that's missing from my list, and it's Triple Tactics Talents, but I'm planning on hopefully getting those someday. But I'm definitely I want to get them. I really do. So we're on 3 copies of Droplets, 3 Dark Ruler No Mores, and I actually play 3 Mystic Mine. And what would be there is the 3 Talents. So it's 57 cards right now, because I do want, if anything, I'll just borrow Talents from somebody I know. But yeah, so a little bit about these cards. So like you guys might wonder, why aren't you playing hand traps? Because like there's no, unless it's like Lancia, and even then Lancia doesn't cover all grounds for every matchup. Cards like Lancia and Drolls are pretty much the only hand traps that could potentially end someone's turn. Droll, if you're like drolling dinos, they can still make plays, especially if they have Lost World. Even if you Lancia dinos when they have Lost World, it's just crazy like that. The decks that those cards work against still have a backup plan if they just drew it. Like, you could droll Dragon Link and they can still make a pretty decent board, not gonna lie. Especially when they have those really cracked hands that play around the droll, or they just get so many searches first before you can droll them. Like, the black metal play is just really, really good. It's just, for me, I don't really, like, I don't want to trust the hand trap. Like, I don't want to make my basically my possibility of being able to win this duel being if I can draw the hand trap, and if the hand trap's good enough to prevent the board from happening, when I can just let the board be made and just break it anyways. I had that mentality for a long time, but we were in a format where people were making VFD, and you couldn't really drop like a Dark Ruler on that card. You couldn't really drop Blitz if you didn't have a trap, and then you couldn't drop Mystic Mind because they had Chuchi. But now, like, it's so different. The format's so different. So these cards are almost better than hand traps, because the only decks that you would want to hand trap are basically combo decks. If I'm playing a mid-range controls deck, like another deck like for example, if I'm playing against, like, you know, Unchained or Eldritch or Zodiac or anything like that, I don't really need hand traps. I'm not scared of a Conquistador. I don't really care about the Zoo cards themselves. Not like saying like that they suck. It's just like my deck's just so much better than that deck. Like, Seal already just ends their turn alone. Like, Zeus just can't play through just literally like a Heretic unless they drew the one of Zodiac Barrage. Like, it's crazy. So I'm really just more concerned about combo, and I feel like, why would I want to Ash them and Imperm them and Gamma them when they're going to play through it, and then Triple Tactics Talents my next card, and then Levianeer my next card, you know what I mean? These cards are much more reliable. These cards out window, which is another card that hand traps can't necessarily stop your opponent from accessing window. Like, if you have hand traps and your opponent drew, like, for example, like just El Shaddai Fusion or something crazy like that, like, you can't stop that. You know, it's just going to happen. They're just going to chain L to an effect that summons, drop a window, and that's where you want Dark Ruler and you want Droplets. Like, there's some hands that can beat window because, like, you can just normal your normal your Dragon Maid, get an anagram engraved, then battle phase, tag out, and just beat over window, but a lot of the times it doesn't really happen that way. So I like these cards. What really should be talked about, like, I know the talents is in there, but there's supposed to be 3 talents as well. What really needs to be talked about is Mystic Mind and why I play it. So for one, you have searchable field spells, so you can turn Mystic Mind off that way. The other way that you can turn Mystic Mind off, because you would think, like, if you're playing Mystic Mind, you don't want to be stuck under your own mind, if not, you know. But how you're going to out it is by activating one of your searchable field spells. That's one solution. And the second solution, which is my favorite way to do it, is with Seal. When you have Mystic Mind, like, this is really cracked going second, because, like, when you're going second with Mystic Mind, it's going to either force a negate or your opponent won't have, like, the out to it. So, like, you'll just slap a Mystic Mind, you'll be sitting on it, and as long as your opponent's field is big enough, you can somewhat combo. I wouldn't commit every, you know, resource and just investment to the board because you have Mystic Mind up, but you can combo just a little bit, make at least a Seal, and you can kind of just slowly dismantle your opponent's board. Or what you can do is you can use Seal, tribute it. Like, for example, when you're ready to out your own Mystic Mind, tribute Seal for cost, bounce your Mystic Mind to hand, and then resolve Seal's effect in grave. Or you could just leave Mystic Mind up and just tribute Seal and still just net a lot of advantage. And as long as you're just kind of cautious and mindful of, you know, what you're doing, Mystic Mind is just going to be really, really powerful. I like it how you can just kind of just take it off the field with the Seal. You try to combo next turn. If your opponent hand trapped you or you just couldn't play, you just activate the Mystic Mind, summon another Seal, activate Mystic Mind, and you just kind of sit on it. And you can just slowly build your resources to where the next time your Seal bounces Mystic Mind, you know you can OTK your opponent on the follow-up. But just the fact that it'll always be there, as long as you're bouncing it with Seal, it'll be there. So every time you take an attempt on your next turn and it fails, you just slap the mind up with another Seal. It's why I'm also enjoying 3 copies of Seal. So I like this card a lot. I think there's very few decks that can out it, and very few decks that are even main decking outs. And because my deck is pretty much a combo deck, people are always going to side Dark Rulers, Droplets, Kaijus, Kaiju Slumbers, you know, cards like Spear Mode, you know, just crazy stuff like that. Board Breakers, Equalizers, Nibiru's, Gammas, Ash, all the good hand traps, right? But what are they going to do about Mystic Mind? You know what I mean? So, like, this card is just, you absolutely just, like, win for free. And I know it's, like, a really, really degenerate, cancerous card, but to be honest, the decks that I would use this against, they're just as cancer as this card itself. So, to be honest, I really don't care. So moving forward past that, we have the 2 anagrams of choice being Lorpor and also Ernest. These are the only ones I'm playing right now. I've played more. I kind of miss Tinkek. That's one thing that I do miss is Tinkek. Her effect to just boost in battle phase is what I really miss. And being able to hospitality for kitchen and get more than just like a break even. And then for one of my better seal targets is Draco. So I'm actually siding the Sloth. I don't really like Sloth this format. I like Draco better. Draco's just a better Sloth against like Dogmatica invoked Shaddolls and just regular Dogmatica invoked against Eldritch and Zodiac, both Zodiac and Eldritch, because like it stops Zeus and that's the most important thing. You're not scared of a Dryden. Dryden is just a really silly card against this deck. It's not going to do anything. Against Dragon Link and against also Dinos, this card is pretty much like Vanity's Emptiness. So, like, comparing Draco to Sloth right now, especially if I'm up against Dragon Link, which is really important, it's like choosing Artifact Scythe over Vanity's Emptiness. Why would you ever pick a Scythe over Emptiness? You know what I mean? So I choose this a lot of times. And the other reason is because, like, against Dragon Link, when you summon Sloth, they can still pretty much just out the Sloth with, like, Levianeer or something like that. So, like, you have to be really mindful. Because, for one, you're normally using Shao first to negate and summon House, then you seal. And you want to do that for one because if you summon Draco first, Shao cannot negate because it has to summon House, and that's a light. And then 2, you want House up. The reason why you want House up when you summon your Draco is because a lot of the times your opponent, if they play the deck that it locks out, they only get their normal summon. So they use their normal summon to go into battle phase to attack this, and you use your battle phase tactics of your Dragon Mates to bounce effective House to pop their monster, and then your in phase you could just tidying bounce your Draco back to hand and just keep playing like that. It's really, really, really powerful. Like, I like main decking it. Like, all of your in boards have so much insurance against equalizers, like Dark Roller Droplet, Mystic Mine. You play through all the hand traps, and there's no hand traps have stopped my turn before. Whenever I draw a good hand, I play through 3. Like, dude, I played through literally Ash, UCT, Punishment, and Nibiru in the same turn. I've played through Dragoon, Fog Blades, and Evil Sword Nightmare, and an Ash in the same turn. I've played through, like, Valor, Crow, Bell. Like, this deck is actually cracked. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, you guys will probably have to see it to believe it, but, like, I've literally, like, done crazy stuff with this deck. So you're not really concerned about hand traps. And when it comes to, like, negates, you can push through really, really big boards. And then the boards that you make are really hard to push through. And then you have insurance through Droplets and Dark Ruler because of cards like Seal and Dragon Maid Tidying. And Seal just tributing itself for cost to just separate chain summon this. It's like you just Dark Rulered me and you still can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's pretty insane. So that's why I like main decking it, because you win a lot more game 1s that you normally probably wouldn't win. Especially for like Dinos, they like to go second. You just summon this and it's like, now they have to double Evolution Pills, summon Pankratops, and you're just like, oh wow. That's really bad, because you're gonna Pankratops, try to pop this, and then now it's like, what are you OTKing me with? You know, like, what are you doing? Because, like, you pop this, you're turning all my other cards online again. So we have 2 changeover, 1 copy of Welcome. Welcome is actually really insane in my list right now. Like, I like Welcome. I like using Welcome to loop the Tidying when I get down to my last copy of Tidying, so I can just keep having it as a playable resource. And then also recycling my House Dragon Maid so that I can just infinitely spam Shao and just have Omni Negates forever. It's crazy. It's really, really insane. It's just, the Dragon Maid cards are just so good, you guys. They're just so good. They're cracked. So that's the main deck, you guys. It's a very, very broken deck. Very, very good. Dragon Maids just have so much to offer. And when I say residual value, it's like 1 parlor can let you see your whole deck. Like, it's literally like, once you summon Seal and you resolve it, there's just a snowballing factor that, like, you build up to this sense of inevitability, like, where you're going to get too many cards for your opponent to be able to handle. You can just literally dominate your opponent by overwhelming them through sheer economics. Like, just be having too many cards for them to ever outplay you, because normally when it comes to skillful interactions, outplaying your opponent requires like systematic maneuvers, being that like you need to telegraph plays and properly navigate through my interruptions, but you also are normally doing that on 1-for-1s. So outside of like technicalities where like you will have like a blowout card that I just couldn't play around, like when you're 1-for-1ing a deck like Dragon Maids, you're never going to be able to keep up, because as long as you 1-for-1 me, all my cards come back. Like, you're 1-for-1ing me with Tidying, this is a +2. Like, I bounce my chamber, and then next turn I can just summon something else. You're 1-for-1 me with Shao. Shao already summoned a Chamber or a Parlor and got an effect. Then it negates, and next turn it's going to come back again. You can't outmaneuver this deck with 1-for-1s. You're always going to get outgrinded and lose your cards. But anyways, extra deck is 2 copies of Striker. Let me check something real quick. Okay, we're Gucci. Two copies of Striker. Sometimes I want 3. It's the second one is really good for follow-ups because when you have Recharger engraved, it just makes like nerfs more insane. Especially when you red MD'd and you're full combo your first turn, because Recharger bringing back red MD is just game. It's insane. And then we have LP and Pisty. There's sometimes that I just use LP and I save my Pisty. Like, I'll use 1 LP and 1 Striker, and then I'll save a Pisty and a Striker for my follow-up combo, especially when I do the Recharger play for red MD and I go Boros Sword and I make Pisty, put it under Boros Sword, bring something back. It's just insane. Yeah, it's crazy what this deck can do, honestly. And then Romulus. These cards are used to make my inboards, and here are the cards that are part of my inboard. I played 3 Seal now. This card is just absolutely broken. Seal is literally like, for Dragon Maids especially, this deck is the best deck to play Seal in. Dragon Maids, because all their effects happen on summon. You just can +3 off of this card. And with Mystic Mind, it's just freaking broken. It's super broken. Because a lot of times your opponent's going to pass, right? Like, sometimes your opponent will actually just pass and just, like, let the Mystic Mind die. And you'll be like, I'm totally fine with that. Like, I don't care, bro. Like, I'm winning anyways. And I'll just like, tribute the Seal, bounce one of your cards, effect to summon on in phase, get my pluses, you know, Mystic Mind dies. I'm like, I'm OTKing you. Oh, the light kind of cut off. Dang. My light cut off a little bit. Dang. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you guys can still see the cards. My bad. So, yeah, my light cut off. But anyways, 3 Seals, 2 copies of Shao, 2 copies of House, 1 Borreload Furious Dragon, 1 Borreload Savage. So I play, like, all the Boros. So Furious Sword and Savage. All of these cards are insane. I like Borreload Furious a lot. It's like a Scrap Dragon, just quick effect Scrap Dragon, but then its effect engrave is another follow-ups. Like, all your inboards have so much follow-up, it's just broken. But yeah, that's the profile, you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and like it. Pretty much, like I said, the only card missing from my list is the Triple Tactics Talents, but God loves you. Jesus bless you guys. I think we don't even have enough time, but oh yeah, so I'm just gonna have to end the video on that note, but peace out, you guys.